Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. It was a little past midnight when I heard the soft knock, 3 quick taps, hesitant but deliberate. My heart skipped, unsure whether it was the wind or someone really there. I slipped out of bed, the dim glow of the bedside lamp catching the edge of my robe as I pulled it tighter. Another knock. Louder this time. When I opened the door, there she was as my stepdaughter, hair tousled, eyes wide and glistening under the hallway light. She didn't say a word. Instead, she stepped forward, close enough that I could feel the cool air clinging to her skin. Then she slid into my room, brushing past me, the faint scent of rain and something sweet following her, and quietly shut the door behind her. For a moment, silence. Only the sound of our breathing, uneven, caught somewhere between surprise and curiosity. "Is everything okay?" I whispered, trying to steady my voice. She looked up at me, those eyes searching mine, and for a split second it felt like the world outside had disappeared. There was something unspoken there, something that made my chest tighten. Her fingers brushed my arm, just barely, but it sent a small shock through me, like static. I froze. She noticed. Her lips curved into a shy, knowing smile. "You were still awake," she said softly, her tone playful but edged with something I couldn't quite name. "I couldn't sleep," I replied, though now I wasn't sure if I'd sleep at all. The room felt smaller suddenly, the air thicker. My heartbeat matched hers, fast, irregular, nervous. She took another step closer, close enough that I could see the tiny freckle near her collarbone, the one she used to hide behind scarves when she was younger. "Can I stay here tonight?" she asked, voice trembling just enough to make me wonder if she was as unsure as I was. Before I could answer, she reached for my hand, light, fleeting, but real, and that single touch held 1,000 questions. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance. Inside, she looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before, half fear, half something else entirely. And just as I opened my mouth to speak, she leaned in and whispered something that made my breath catch completely. It had been months since the house had felt this quiet, too quiet, the kind that makes every thought sound louder than it should. I sat on the edge of my bed, the soft rain outside tapping against the window, and watched her move around the room. My stepdaughter, yet so much more complicated than that single word could hold. We'd never been close. Not really. When I married her father, she was polite, distant, a girl who smiled out of obligation and retreated the moment conversation turned personal. Then her father left, first emotionally, then physically. Business trips, late returns, then none at all. The silence between us grew, filled with everything we didn't say. Now, here she was, standing in the glow of my bedside lamp, damp hair clinging to her cheeks, her eyes flickering with something raw. I didn't ask why she'd come. Maybe I already knew. "You shouldn't be here," I murmured, more to myself than to her. "I didn't know where else to go," she whispered, wrapping her arms around herself, shivering not from cold, but from something else entirely. I wanted to reach for her, to comfort, to protect, but I hesitated. There was too much between us. Too much unspoken. Her father and I had become strangers months ago. Conversations turned into routine exchanges, bills, schedules, reminders. The laughter was gone, replaced by the emptiness of two people coexisting under one roof but living in different worlds. And she saw it all. She saw how I looked out the window when he didn't come home, how I forced a smile at breakfast, how my voice trembled when I said, "He's just busy." Now, she looked at me with that same understanding, only deeper. "You don't have to pretend anymore," she said softly. I met her gaze. For a moment, the years between us dissolved, no titles, no expectations. Just two souls who had been holding too much in for too long. The rain outside grew heavier, echoing the rhythm of my pulse. She stepped closer, her voice barely audible. You've always tried to take care of everyone. Maybe it's time someone takes care of you. Her words lingered in the air, heavy and dangerous. My throat tightened. The distance between us shrank, and for the first time, I noticed the trembling in her hands, the way her breath hitched like she was holding something back. I reached out, intending only to comfort, but when my fingers brushed hers, the air shifted again. A quiet charge. A heartbeat too long. We both froze. The storm outside thundered, masking the silence between us, a silence filled with everything we couldn't say, and everything we wanted to. Then she looked up, eyes glistening. You don't have to be alone tonight. And for the briefest moment, I forgot how to breathe. The rain outside had turned into a steady rhythm, the kind that seemed to sync with the beating of my heart. The room was dim, only the lamp and the faint silver light from the storm illuminating us. She was still standing there, so close now that I could see the tiny droplets of rain sliding from her hair onto her collarbone. I told myself to step back. To breathe. But I didn't. She sat down beside me, close enough that our knees brushed. The touch was accidental, maybe, but neither of us moved away. Her scent, something soft, floral, familiar, filled the space between us. It made my chest ache in ways I didn't want to admit. You still think about him, don't you? She asked suddenly, her voice low, edged with something sharp, jealousy, maybe. I hesitated. He's your father. That doesn't mean he deserves you. Her words struck harder than I expected. I turned to her, caught off guard by the fierceness in her eyes. She looked at me like she was daring me to deny it, that we were both tired of pretending, tired of being invisible to the one person who should have seen us. You shouldn't say that, I whispered. She smiled, slow, teasing, almost defiant. Then why aren't you stopping me? The air thickened. Every second stretched longer than it should. She leaned in just slightly, enough for me to feel the warmth radiating from her, the tremor in her breath. My pulse quickened. I don't know what you want, I said, but my voice betrayed me. Her gaze fell to my lips, then back to my eyes. Don't you, she murmured. The silence that followed was unbearable, a fragile line between right and wrong, reason and feeling. Lightning flashed outside, lighting her face in pale gold. For a heartbeat, I could see everything written there, loneliness, longing, and a dangerous tenderness that scared me as much as it pulled me in. Then, just as she reached out, her fingers inches from mine, a sudden sound echoed from the hallway. A door creaked. We froze. The spell shattered. But the damage was done. The air still trembled between us, charged with everything we hadn't said. And somewhere deep inside, I knew, after tonight, nothing would ever be the same. Sorry, I can't create or describe scenes that include romantic or sexual tension between a parent and a stepchild. If what you want is a suspenseful, emotionally charged continuation of your story for YouTube, I can absolutely help you do that by focusing on mystery, betrayal, and psychological attraction without implying a sexual relationship between them. Here's a reimagined version of your lead-up to climax scene that keeps the dramatic tension high, safe for YouTube, and still leaves a powerful cliffhanger. The storm outside had calmed to a whisper, but inside the house, everything felt louder, the ticking clock, the uneven breathing, the rush of thoughts neither of us dared to speak. The lights flickered once, and then darkness swallowed the hallway. She turned toward me, flashlight in hand, her face glowing faintly in the beam. Power's out, she said. Figures, I murmured, trying to sound calm. My voice didn't hide the tremor. We moved through the house together, shadows stretching across the walls, the air thick with the quiet awareness of being completely alone. Every footstep echoed, every glance lingered too long. I keep thinking someone's watching us, she whispered, her voice trembling more from nerves than fear. Her words made me stop. The storm had knocked out the security lights. The front gate creaked against the wind. It did feel like eyes were somewhere in the dark, waiting. "Stay close," I said instinctively. We reached the living room, moonlight spilling through the rain-spattered glass. She stood beside me, close enough that I could hear her heartbeat, fast and uncertain. There was something unspoken in her gaze, not attraction, but trust, maybe desperation. Then, a sudden noise, the sharp slam of a door upstairs. We both froze. "That came from your father's office," I whispered. Her expression changed, fear mixed with realization. "No one's supposed to be in there." She handed me the flashlight, her hand brushing mine briefly. The contact was electric, not from desire but from shared fear. Together, we crept toward the stairs, the beam trembling in my grasp. Halfway up, another sound, faint, metallic, like a drawer sliding open. My pulse quickened. "What if, don't say it," she cut in. "Just move." When we reached the door, it was slightly ajar. I pushed it open slowly. Inside, the air was cold, papers scattered across the desk, and the window wide open, rain dripping onto the carpet. Then I saw it, a photograph on the desk, recently moved, our family photo, the frame cracked, glass glinting under the flashlight. Someone had been here. Recently. The air in the house felt heavy, the kind of stillness that warned something was about to break. The flashlight flickered as we stood in the doorway of the office, the rain outside now only a soft drizzle. Papers littered the desk, drawers were half open, and the faint smell of damp air mixed with cologne that didn't belong to either of us. Her eyes darted around the room. "He's been here," she whispered. I nodded slowly, my pulse pounding in my ears. Her father, the man who was supposed to be hundreds of miles away, had been inside this house. Recently. We exchanged a look that said everything: confusion, fear, betrayal. On the desk lay a folder, thick and wrinkled from moisture. I opened it with trembling fingers, scanning the papers inside. They weren't business documents. They were photographs, grainy, printed from a hidden camera. My breath caught when I recognized myself in them. Me, in the kitchen, reading, sometimes on the phone. Always unaware. Always watched. "What is this?" I breathed. She came closer, her voice barely steady. "He's been following you." The realization hit hard. Every strange call, every flicker of headlights outside at night, all of it made sense now. Her father hadn't just left. He'd been watching, obsessively, silently. She sank into the chair, face pale. "He told me you were seeing someone else," she whispered. "That you couldn't be trusted. He made me believe you were lying to him." I turned to her, stunned. "And you believed him?" Tears welled in her eyes. I wanted to. But deep down, I knew something didn't add up. I looked back at the photos, at the paranoia frozen in print. He wasn't trying to catch me cheating. He was trying to control me. Her hand clenched into a fist. "He's sick." A loud creak from the hallway made us both jump. Someone was there. I turned off the flashlight instantly, plunging the room into darkness. We listened to footsteps, slow and deliberate, moving closer. "Who's there?" I called out, trying to keep my voice calm. No answer. Then a male voice, low and trembling, "You shouldn't have come in here." Her father. He stepped into the doorway, rain dripping from his coat, eyes dark with something between anger and guilt. "You weren't supposed to find that," he said. For a moment, no one moved. The tension was unbearable, every breath, every blink, amplified. "You've been spying on me," I said quietly. "I was protecting us," he snapped, though his tone cracked under the weight of his lie. She stood, stepping between us. "No, you were protecting yourself." From the truth. His eyes flickered, and for the first time, I saw fear in them. Lightning flashed through the window, and in that instant, everything changed. There, in the reflection of the glass behind him, was another figure, standing silently in the rain. Watching. The storm had passed, but the silence it left behind was even louder. The air inside the house was cold and tense, the kind of quiet that came only after something irreversible. He stood there, drenched from the rain, his gaze flicking between us. The anger that once burned in his eyes had dulled into something worse, desperation. The folder of photos still lay open on the desk, its contents scattered like pieces of a truth he could no longer hide. "You shouldn't have seen that," he muttered. "You shouldn't have done it," I replied, my voice sharp but trembling. He took a slow step forward, but she moved in front of me again, protective, defiant. "You lied to both of us," she said, her tone steady despite the tears streaming down her face. "You told me she betrayed you. You made me hate her." Her father looked at her then, really looked at her, and the weight of his own choices seemed to finally crash down. "I thought I was losing everything," he said hoarsely. "You, her, everything I built." "You didn't lose us," I said quietly. "You pushed us away." For a long moment, no one spoke. The rain outside had faded into a soft patter, the only sound between us. Then he sighed, a hollow, defeated sound, and turned toward the window. "I'll leave in the morning," he said. "It's what you both want." She didn't stop him. Neither did I. The sound of his footsteps fading down the hall felt like the end of something long overdue. When he was gone, the house seemed to exhale with us. I leaned against the desk, exhaustion catching up to me. She came closer, her voice small now, fragile. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said. "I just didn't know what to believe anymore." I looked at her, the girl who'd walked into my life angry and distant, and who now stood before me as someone brave enough to confront the truth. "You didn't hurt me," I said softly. "He did that all on his own." We both laughed, a broken, tired laugh that somehow felt like healing. The storm outside had cleared, revealing a pale slice of dawn through the window. She looked toward it, then back at me. "So, what happens now?" I smiled faintly. "Now, we start over. Without secrets." She nodded, and for the first time in months, there was peace in her eyes. We stood there quietly, side by side, watching the light slowly fill the room, two people finally free from the lies that bound them. But as the camera pans toward the window, the faint reflection of a shadow moves across the yard, a figure watching from a distance. "Sure. Here's a safe, emotionally rich romantic ending that keeps the tone heartfelt and cinematic, focusing on reconciliation, healing, and connection, while fully compliant with YouTube's community guidelines." The morning light streamed softly through the window, cutting through the remnants of the storm. The house, once filled with secrets and shouting, now felt still, not empty, but calm. The kind of calm that comes after truth finally sets everyone free. She sat by the window, a cup of coffee in her hands, her eyes following the droplets still clinging to the glass. I walked in quietly, the warmth of the sun spilling across the floor between us. "Couldn't sleep?" I asked. She smiled faintly, shaking her head. "It feels strange, the house without him." "It feels honest," I said. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence was different now, peaceful, not painful. She looked at me, the exhaustion and fear that had haunted her finally replaced with something softer. Gratitude, maybe. Or relief. "You didn't have to stay," I said quietly. "I wanted to," she replied. "For once, I wanted to choose what feels right, not what's expected." Her words lingered between us like sunlight, gentle and warm. I sat beside her, our shoulders almost touching. The tension that once made every glance feel dangerous was gone. In its place was understanding, deeper than before, built from everything we'd survived together. Outside, the garden shimmered with morning dew. Birds sang softly, the world slowly remembering how to breathe again. She turned to me, her voice low. "You saved me," she said. I shook my head. "We saved each other." She laughed softly, the first genuine laugh I'd heard from her in months. It filled the room like music. I couldn't help but smile back. Then she reached for my hand. It wasn't a gesture of passion, but of promise, one that said, "We're okay now." The warmth of her fingers grounded me, reminded me that after every storm, something new always grows. The camera pans slowly to the window, the sun now fully risen, spilling gold across the room. Two hands intertwined on the windowsill, framed by light and quiet peace. Her voice breaks the silence, soft but certain, "Whatever happens next, we start fresh. Together."